day everyone, especially to you sir. My name is Josh Pabon, B Scream 3A, and today we're going to report, and here's my report. The topic of my report is fire and arson investigation. Fire is a chemical reaction that produce physical effects with evolution of heat and light. Fire investigation is the comprehensive analytical approach by understanding the fundamental property of fire by determining the chemistry of fire fuels and combustion. It is a advance of an investigation and lawyer of a case if they have least basis knowledge about fire. And this reaction is called combustion. Combustion is burning, is a high temperature of exothermic reduced chemical reaction between fire and oxidant, usually at atmospheric oxygen, and produces oxidized between gaseous procedures in a mixtures termed as smoke. And we're go to objectives purpose of fire investigation. There are 4 objective purposes of investigation. One is to save lives and to prevent injuries, and 2 is to determine the origin that cause of fire, and 3 is to provide proof of fact during trial, to refer to defend, and 4 is to refer and to defend those conclusions in rational and logical manner supported by scientific valid data. And we'll go to classification of fire investigation. There are 5 classification of fire investigation. 1 is a natural, 2 is accidental, and 3 unknown origin, and 4 is suspicious, and 5 is incendiary obvious arson. And incidentally fire, this is the largest of the most obvious fire investigated, the primordial intent that to destroy property and of another. And we'll go to sa issue in fire investigation. And issue, there are 3 types of issue in fire investigation. 1 is lack of time, 2 is misidentified as accidental fire due to lack of experience, and 3 is intentional, made to avoid complication of identifying a fire as a criminal act. Long investigation time generates negative publicity on the community. And arson investigation is under the law. Arson is the malicious burning of dwelling, house, of building to another. all fires there must a cause before effect produced. Said this cause is known as a combination of combustion is the effect of certain causes, and these causes are not present there. Can be combustions as spontaneous or otherwise. The assistance of a foreign sick accepts place information. The role arson investigation of 10 times fire has nature and cause of the fire depends on the result of examination of an expert based on the evidence collected from crime scene. The examination will not only save the time of the investigator but also prevent accusation of innocent person. And we'll go to technical aspects of arson cause. Burning of combustion is rapid oxidation of substance accompanied by the generation of heat, and light burning occurs when three essential obviously to create the fire and the most combustible materials. It may soil, liquid and gas. Speaking of only gas is burned. The solid liquid must be heated by liberate flammable gases. The gases stored must rise to the proper temperature before ignition occurs. Hence, there must presence that combustible materials to burn and a source of heat to rise a temperature of the fuel of kindling option. Finally, there must be a supply of oxygen. Since burning is process of oxidation, oxygen must be supplied from the air from oxidizing oxygen. And we go to the causes of fire. A fire may be proceed intentionally or accidentally. Natural causes of fire runs rays are focused by humbles in windows first, saving mirrors by some their specularly shared glasses, article which may serve of convex lens. And lightning usually strikes to a high point of the building and may be created in the path of grounds. Trace lightning are melting of metal parts of the building, streak paint by burnt or cracks in the walls, broken bricks, and soot driven into rooms from the chimney. And we'll go to the indication of arson. Arson fire generally indicate by 5. One is burning faster and larger than normal. 2 is having a multiple points of origin. And 3, use of accelerants. And 4 is timely delay device. A matchboys and cigarettes is a 20 minutes fuse. And 5 is cans of containers are usually found at the crime scene. And heat can be eliminated by condition of window glass. Small harge of glass means explosion took place. Recycling means hot fire. Metal, copper, aluminum and other metals usually meant an accelerant was used. Suit of wipes are easily from glass or slightly curved studs behind the walls means a quick fire. Combustion nature behaviors of fire. Combustion is defined. Combustion is burning reaction in which a substance combines with a gas, heat, and light, usually accompanied by combustion reaction, and most of this reaction is involved oxygen. Example of hydrogen combined with oxygen will undergo rapid oxidation and produce water and heat. Then we go to two types of combustion. One is flaming. Destructive gas use combustion where both the fuel and the oxidizer are gases. An example of flaming is the deliberate of act posting or writing the message of internet bulletin boards that have the intent of insulting or creating dissent with a group. For example, a means of internet group could get fired up by someone comment in spanking. And we go to glowing. Glowing is absence of fire but presence of very hot materials as surface of which combustion is proceeding. And we go to two kinds of combustions. One is complete combustions that all of the reactants are consumed, and B is the incomplete combustion that only some parts of the reactant are consumed. And we go to the basis combustion condition. One is a presence of combustible fuel, and two is oxidizer. Three is energy ignition heat applied, and four is interaction of fuel and oxidizers to suspense chain reaction. And the matter elements of composed of atoms combine forming molecules. Air and composed of 21 oxygen and 75 nitrogen. Oxidation is a combination of elements and compounds with oxygen introducing stable substances that compounds and elements and combine with an oxygen and proceeds fire are called flammable substance and proceeds called combustions. And two is pyrolysis. Pyrolysis comes from the Greek word fire, and lysis decompose the process of composition of material to simpler compounds brought about from fire. And we go to the flame. A flame is a gaseous reaction where flame of hot gases rises in convection where and its oxygen is maintained by the solid soot or liquid aerosol and a closest room. Theoretically, one is oxygen falls below 15 combustion rate decrease, and two is if temperature are 900 to 1000 degree Celsius, most of last flash over room fires which oxygen concentration in is only 5 and 8. If and if a 5% and temperature increase at 1000 degrees Celsius, flaming hot. And we go to the nitrogen. Presence of nitrogen helps deliver extra oxygen to continuous combustion reactions. Example is presence of nitrates o NO3 in fuel or color temperature and incandescent hot object or glowing fire. There are 6 of them, and one is a dark red or 5 to 600 degrees Celsius, and 2 is dull red or 600 to 800 degree Celsius, and we go to 3 is bright cherry red, or we'll go to red with 8 and 1000 degrees Celsius. And for orange, 1000 to 1200 degrees Celsius, and 5 is bright yellow, 1 to 2000 1200 to 1400 degrees Celsius, and 6 is white, and 1000 to 400 and 1000 to 600 degrees Celsius. And we go to fire triangle. There are 3 kinds of fire triangle. One is a fuel, 2 is a heat ignitions, 2 is oxidant, and we go to the explosive triangle. One is, as an explosive triangle, there are 3 types. One is fuel, 2 is ignition, 3 is oxidant. And we go to color, smoke, and odor being evolved. There are 7 kinds of color, smoke, and odor being evolved. One is white, humid materials. 2 is light gray and high and vegetable matter. And 3 is black or lack of air with a huge flame, usually petroleum base. 4 is reddish brown or high yellow, brownish yellow in necroleous fires, sulfur and sulfuric, nitric, or other chemicals. And 5 is beating smoke or indicates the presence of sulfur. And 6 is routine cabbage or like odor, indicates the presence of carbon disulfide. And 7 is garlic odor or indicates the presence of phosphorus. And we go to the application of heat or fire investigation. There are 3 kinds of applicants of heat or fire investigation. One is heat as applied of igniting fire, and 2 is heat is applied of increasing rate of chemical reaction. 3 is transfer of heat, and we go to transfer of heat, and there are 3 kinds of transfer of heat. One is conduction, conduction transfer by the conduct between moving molecules from hot or cold areas. And 2 is convection. Convection distributing a heart of circulating medium. And 3 is radiation. Radiation is a critical wherein aids fire and spread and promotes ignition of other rules. And we'll go to 2 types of heat reaction. One is exothermic, or exothermic is a heat of release from the system. And 2 is endothermic, or endothermic is a heat absorbed to the system. And we'll go to the source of ignition. Ignition involves burning the fuel to characteristic temperature by convection, conduction, and rational of heat until constitution combustion. The following are the source of ignition. And one of this is sparks and arcs, and 2 is preliminary igniters, lighters, and hot object surface friction. The primary ignitates is a match. Is the most common advice to kindling a flame. It is composed of combustible material combined with head containing both fuel and oxidizer that can be ignited by friction. And we go to 2 types of preliminary igniters. One is a strike or kitchen match. The tip it contains with head containing both fuel and oxidizer that can be ignited by friction. And components: oxidant potassium chlorate. One is fuel, sulfur of paraffin, of blinder of glue, filler silica. And 2 is safety match will ignites only using abrasives through materials. And components: oxidant read by phosphorus, fuel, and sulfur. And we go to lighters can explode when exposed to the high temperature and form of leakage when exposed to a reduced atmospheric pressure, such as an airplane. 2 types of lighter. One is electric elements, typical electrically connected with the battery of vehicles current it, and liquid fuel, and other is a liquid fuel lighter, so contains of light petroleum as a fuel in a compartment under pressure. And we go to the sparks and arcs. Sparks and arcs can be produced using electrical current changing through the air, or this solator, or tiny fragment of burning or glowing solid. And we go to hot object surface. Hot object is many convert and a fuel to a vapor which eventually starts a fire. and we're go to friction. Friction between two moving object surface generates heat. Example is brake shoes of automobile can become extremely hot. Other sources of ignition. There are 8 kinds of other source of ignition. One is radiant heat, two is chemical reaction, and three other source of fireplace and chemist, and four is trash burners and bonfires. Five is hot molters, molten metals, and six is mechanically mechanical sparks. And seven is firearms residue during discharge of rifle flex escaping from the muzzles of short barrel handling gun is burning. The flex can ignite firmly divided cotton and similar combustibles at very close range, 1 to 4 feet. And 8 is smoking lightning, spontaneous combustion, ignitions of electrical lightnings. And we go to the laboratory identification, recognition, collection, and preservation of physical evidence. In recognition, fire identify first the origin in this case, and many evidence can be recovered such as particularly burned as unburned fuels. This is usually treated in crevices to under the compost. And in collecting physical evidence such as rebricious, furnace, and vapor detector, it is not able to collect as many you can until container is completely filled. If the containers is completely filled with debris, evaporation of volatile accelerants will be presented even if the containers is opened. Preservation or usual containers is used to metal paint cans or glass with a screw cap. And we go to laboratory examination. One is a color test or color test using Sudan black. In this method of examination, the accelerants are allowed to evaporate. The vapors are reacted with this chemical until pink color of solution will appear, which indicate the presence of any accelerant. And two is confirmatory examination. Gas chromatography with head space. This analytical method is used to detect the specific volatile accelerants by comparing in which known standards as a kerosene, gasoline. And we go to how to minimize the fire. Fire incidents can be presented by two. One is a better building designs, and two is fire safety practice. And tool mark. A tool mark is an instrument that capable of making mark on another object. A tool mark is defined of impression, cut, scratch, judge of abrasion of any other marking left on another by another harder object or instrument. A tool of mark may be classified negative impression as abrasion, friction type mark as a combination of the two. One is negative impression and two is abrasion of friction mark. Negative impression is made when a tool is raised or into receiving surface. This type of marks is usually made when a crowbar is used to pry open a door of a window. And two is abrasion or friction mark is made when a tool goes into sliders cross surface. With type of mark may be made by pair of pliers and both cutter knife as saw, drill plane and die use the manufacture of fire. 3 is combination mark is made for example when crowbar is forcefully inserted into the space between a door when the door facing the pressure and applied to handle the tool to force the door open. The forceful insertion is a crowbar produce an abrasion of friction mark and the liberating action procedures a negative impression. And we go to application of tool mark. There are 6 application of tool mark. One is a knife marks and bone. 2 is fractured knife blades. And 3 is homemade explosive device. And 4 is crimp marks of denotation. 5 is cut marks on wire. 6 is spray marks on a window or door. And we go to what information can a tool mark provides. 1 is the type of tool, and 2 is shape of other cutting edge of a blade, and 3 is blade with it. And 4 is color of tool based on the paint transfer from the tool. 5 is class characteristic of the tool, and 6 is unique identifying marks. Use of tool mark evidence. Tool mark may be used to 6. A is link a person who used the tool in the commission of crime of someone other acts materials be commission of the crime. And B is establish whether as a given tool or weapon found at the crime scene has made a mark that is material to the crime. C. Establish a connection between similar evidence discovered in a series of crimes. And D is determine whether a door or window was forced open from the inside or outside. And E is compare the tool mark from the crime scene with the tool mark found on the property equipment of evidence of a suspect. And F is facilitate a narrow the search for a given tool or weapon. And we go to why our tool marks are important in a crime scene investigation. Tool marks are important in the crime scene investigation because you can tell that kind of tool was used, and by that you can see it, the suspect tools match the tool mark. Tool marks are usually discovered on doors, windows, and other opening that may have been used by a criminal in their practicable entry or exit. Particularly, attention must be focused on broken force or catlock and the immediate area surrounding the fastenings in entire crime scene, and its vicinity must be searched for tools that have been used. Whenever the possible, submit the whole object containing tool marks to the laboratory instead of just the area containing the marks. If this is not possible to carefully photograph and sketch, the area is counting the mark. Cast of tool marks can be made by a person who has had considerable experience in this work. Forecasts are useless of comparison purposes, and use marks will be damaged in proper methods are used. Preservation and packaging tools. Packages object containing tool marks that no alternation or made will occur during shipments. Small objects should be wrapped with clean paper band and placed in develops the box, while important areas or large object can be protected with paper. The whole large object can be packaged in cartons or created in not delivered in persons. Test marks are made with suspected tools on materials similar to those which the tools marks are present, and compared with the suspected tool marks in using comparison microscope. And glass defined as inorganic substance with condition which continues, which analogous to be liquid state that substance, but which as result of reservoir chance of viscosity as to be for all practical purposes rigid. Glass is normally focused mixtures of silica, usually inform the natural sand, and two or more alkaline base with a soda lines or potash. It also contains either accidental impurities in impurities in the basis of continuance or added to them for color, degrees of hardness, heat resistance, and other specific purpose. There are properties of glass. There are two kinds of properties of glass. One is glass is somewhat flexible and tends to bend upon application of force. Two is glass bends of their direction where the force is applied, causing the opposite side of stretch. Glass can be withstand more bending rather than stretching using of stretch crossing the opposite side of start breaking. English view. Glass fractures. Glass fractures may be caused by excessive exposure of heat and caused by impact of a blunt instrument or object or caused by projectiles. Types of glass fracture. One is a radical fracture or primary fracture resembles by spokes and so wheel where the traditional road organization of a common point when the glass breaks the lines that radiate from the hole caused by the glass blending away from the point of impact. Two is concentric fracture. Secondary fracture having the appearance of circles around the point of impact connection of radiating pieces, a radiating crack of other, those forming triangular pieces of glass. 3 is conchoidal fracture. A characteristic of blood is that when the breaks, the fracture edge appear will like it form. It is having elevation depression in the shape of shell of typically named for this conditional fracture. And go to laboratory examination. Color using test is using Sudan black. 2 is Kumari glass and how many mice 5 fires and we go to fracture caused by heat. Fracture caused by executive exposure to heart can be distinguished from those caused by impact since those due to heart do not show a regular pattern of radical and concentric lines. Heat fracture is also show the curved patterns along the edge. Expansion of the glass, stretching actions occurs first on side of exposed to the heat, and reconstruction the glass object fractured by heat will disclose the wave-shaped fracture patterns. And we go to fractures caused by blunt instrument object. Through examination of glass fracture caused by the impact of blunt instrument objective will reveal a pattern of radical and concentric fractures. When a glass fracture were caused by the impact of a blunt instrument objects, stretch lines of the edge of blunt radical and concentric fracture can be seen. Fracture caused by blunt instrument object. When glass fractures caused by impact of blunt instrument objects, trace lines and edge in the both radical and concentric fractures can be seen. And fracture caused by projectiles, a small dense object such a bullet, pebble or steel ball may impact upon a plane in a glass with such a little force of such as high speed that there is no bulging of glass and therefore no radical cracks. Penetration of high velocity projectiles will produce a coning or cauterizing effect where opening is a large on exit sides. Significance determine the type of glass fracture. One is point of impact. A glass is an its maximum stretch under expression but weak in tension. 2 is direct impact. Generally, the whole procedures in the glass by a bullet is small and sharp edges. 3 is the entrance of exit hole. Point of entry is where the force is being applied and it may proceed a small hole than exit. Cause of glass fracture. 1 is due to natural means. 2 is due to mechanical means. And fracture determined glass is a point impact. And that's all. Thank you.
Hot dog.